The Silence and the Discovery Doctor. Marcus Reynolds had spent 15 years listening to the stars. Every night he sat in the control room of the Deep Space Observation Network, watching screens filled with data from humanity's most advanced telescopes. The facility sat high in the Andes Mountains, far from city lights and interference. For most of those 15 years, Marcus had heard nothing but cosmic noise, random radiation, the hum of distant stars, the echo of the universe's birth. But tonight was different. The pattern appeared at exactly 0347 hours. At first, Marcus thought it was a system error. The data showed something impossible. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The numbers remained the same. His assistant, Dr. Elena Vasquez, noticed his expression and walked over to his station. She was younger than Marcus, brilliant, and usually the first to spot anomalies in their data. "What's wrong?" Elena asked, leaning over his shoulder to see the screen. Marcus pointed at the display. "Look at Sector 7. We sent probe Delta 9 through that region 6 months ago. Before the probe arrived, we detected 17 distinct artificial signals. Radio patterns, energy bursts, clear signs of technology. But the moment our probe entered the sector, everything stopped. Complete silence." Elena frowned. "Equipment failure? Maybe the probe sensors malfunctioned." "That's what I thought too," Marcus replied. He pulled up more data. "So I checked the other probes. Delta 7, Delta 8, Echo 3. Same pattern everywhere. We detect signals, we send a probe, signals disappear." He turned to face her. "Elena, this has been happening for 8 years. Every sector we explore goes silent the moment we arrive." The implications hit Elena like a physical force. She sat down heavily in the nearest chair. "You're saying they know we're coming?" "They're hiding from us," Marcus nodded slowly. "The galaxy isn't empty. It never was. They've been watching us, and when we get close, they turn off their lights and pretend nobody's home." The discovery shook Marcus to his core. Humanity had been searching for alien life for over 2 centuries. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence had consumed billions of dollars and countless hours. Scientists had scanned the skies, sent messages into space, and built monuments declaring humanity's existence, all of it based on one assumption, that we were alone or that we simply hadn't found each other yet. But the truth was far more disturbing. The galaxy was full of life. Civilizations talked to each other constantly across vast distances. They had technology, culture, and societies. And they had all agreed on one thing: avoid humanity at all costs. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus and Elena analyzed decades of data with fresh eyes. The pattern was undeniable. Every time humanity reached toward the stars went dark. It was coordinated, deliberate, and universe-wide. They compiled their findings into a report that would change everything. The data was irrefutable. Humanity had been deliberately isolated. The report reached the United Earth Council within days. The council had been formed 30 years earlier when humanity finally achieved lasting peace after the resource wars. Every nation had a voice. Every decision required consensus. It was imperfect, but it worked. Now they gathered in their chamber in Geneva to hear something that would challenge everything they believed about humanity's place in the cosmos. General Sarah Chen stood before the council representatives. She had been chosen to present the findings because she understood both the science and the military implications. Her voice was steady as she explained what Marcus and Elena had discovered. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone. We have never been alone. The galaxy is teeming with intelligent life, and they have been watching us for centuries. When we search for them, they hide. When we send probes, they go silent. We have been quarantined." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions. Some demanded proof. Others called for immediate action. Ambassador James Okonkwo from the African Union stood and raised his hand for silence. He was respected by all sides, known for his wisdom and calm judgment. "Dr. Chen, why would they hide from us? What have we done to deserve this treatment?" Sarah pulled up historical footage on the main screen. Wars, nuclear explosions, environmental destruction, genocide. The darkest moments of human history played out before the council. They've been watching our broadcasts for over 200 years. They've seen everything. Our violence, our conflicts, our weapons. From their perspective, we look like a dangerous species. They decided we were too risky to contact. "But we've changed," said Representative Liu Wei from the Asian Coalition. "We've had global peace for 3 decades. We've solved most of our environmental crises. We've united as a species. Don't they see that?" "Apparently not," Sarah replied. "Or they don't care." They made their judgment centuries ago and never reconsidered it. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives argued for patience, for sending peaceful messages and waiting for the aliens to respond. Others felt insulted and wanted to demand recognition. A few suggested that maybe the aliens were right to be cautious. General Hassan al-Rashid from the Middle Eastern Federation stood and spoke with quiet intensity. We cannot control what they think of us based on our past, but we can control how we respond now. If we act with fear or aggression, we prove them right. If we act with dignity and strength, we show them who we truly are. Ambassador Yuki Tanaka from the Pacific Alliance added her voice. But we also cannot accept being treated as criminals for crimes we might commit. Every species has a violent past. Growth requires struggle. They had no right to judge us without ever speaking to us. The arguments went back and forth. Finally, the council's chairperson, Dr. Amara Okafor, called for order. She was a philosopher and scientist who had led humanity through some of its most difficult decisions. Her voice carried authority that came not from power but from earned respect. We face a choice. We can accept this isolation and continue as we have, pretending we don't know the truth. Or we can announce ourselves to the galaxy and demand to be heard. Both paths carry risk, but only one path preserves our dignity. The vote took 2 days of discussion. In the end, the decision was clear. Humanity would not hide. Humanity would not beg. Humanity would send one message to the entire galaxy, clear and unmistakable. The message would be simple. We know you're there. We know what you've done, and we're coming whether you like it or not. Marcus and Elena were brought in to help craft the transmission. They worked with linguists, diplomats, and communications experts. Every word was debated. The message needed to be firm without being threatening, confident without being arrogant. It needed to show that humanity understood the situation and refused to accept it. The final message was loaded into the quantum entanglement array, humanity's newest communication technology. It would send the message instantaneously across the galaxy, using quantum-linked particles. Every advanced civilization would receive it at the same moment. There would be no delay, no chance to prepare. It would simply appear, forcing them to acknowledge humanity's existence. On a cold morning in Geneva, Marcus stood in the transmission center with his hand on the activation control. The entire council watched via secure link. Billions of humans around the world waited, knowing that history was about to change forever. Dr. Okafor gave the final authorization. Dr. Reynolds, you may proceed. Marcus took a deep breath and pressed the button. The message flashed across the galaxy in an instant, carried by quantum entanglement to every listening civilization. The words appeared on their screens in their languages, translated by the quantum system's built-in algorithms. To the civilizations of the galaxy, we know you exist. We know you've been watching us. We know you've chosen silence over contact, judgment over understanding. This ends now. We are humanity. We have made mistakes, but we have also grown. We have fought wars, but we have also made peace. We have destroyed, but we have also created. You never gave us a chance to show you who we are. You decided we were dangerous without ever speaking to us. This is your warning. Humanity is done waiting for permission to exist among the stars. We are coming, not as conquerors, but as equals. Not as enemies, but as neighbors who refuse to be ignored. You have 1 Earth year to respond. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. The control room fell silent. Elna looked at Marcus with wide eyes. We just announced humanity to the entire galaxy. What happens now? Marcus stared at the stars displayed on the screens around them. Now we find out if they're ready for us. And if they're not, we show them that we're ready anyway. Across the galaxy, on 43 different worlds, alarms began to sound. The message had arrived. The humans had discovered the truth, and they were not pleased about it. The age of humanity's isolation was over. What came next would determine the fate of both humanity and the galaxy itself. The message and the response. The message arrived during a routine session of the Galactic Coordination Assembly. The assembly met on the neutral world of Thesara Prime, a planet chosen specifically because no single species could claim it as their own. Representatives from 43 civilizations gathered in the Grand Chamber, a massive structure designed to accommodate beings of wildly different biologies. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some saw invisible light, others in infrared or ultraviolet. Despite their differences, They had maintained peace for over 600 years, through careful diplomacy and strict protocols. Archon Velis of the Korthan Empire was presenting a trade agreement when every communication device in the chamber activated simultaneously. The quantum signal bypassed all security systems, all encryption, all filters. It simply appeared, forcing itself onto every screen, every holographic display, every neural interface. The human message played in 43 different languages, perfectly translated into each species' native tongue. The chamber fell into stunned silence as the message ended. Then chaos erupted. Representatives shouted at each other. Security teams rushed to their posts. Technicians tried desperately to trace the source of the breach. But the damage was done. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Archon Velis, a tall being covered in crystalline scales that reflected light in geometric patterns, called for order. His species, the Korthans, were among the oldest members of the Assembly. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, but even Velis had never witnessed anything like this. Silence! His voice echoed through the chamber with artificial amplification. We must address this situation calmly. High Scholar Travana of the Luminari floated forward in her containment sphere. Her species existed as pure energy, requiring special equipment to interact with matter-based beings. Her voice came through synthesizers that translated her photonic patterns into sound. They know. The humans discovered our observation protocols. This is unprecedented. This is an act of war, hissed Ambassador Krell of the Saurian Confederation. His reptilian features twisted in anger. They have breached our most secure systems. They have threatened us. We should respond with immediate military action. They defended themselves against isolation, countered Delegate Mira of the Peaceful Collective. Her species, the Empathi, were telepathic and deeply opposed to violence. We judged them without trial. We watched them for centuries but never offered friendship. Can we truly blame them for being angry? The debate raged for hours. The Assembly had maintained the human quarantine for 247 Earth years. The decision had not been made lightly. They had watched humanity's broadcasts, seen the wars, the nuclear weapons, the environmental destruction. Every analysis predicted that humans would become aggressive expansionists if given access to advanced technology. The Varathi catastrophe still haunted galactic memory, when a young, aggressive species had nearly destroyed 17 civilizations before being stopped. The protocols existed to prevent that from happening again. But protocols had never accounted for a species discovering the quarantine and objecting to it. Elder Xiphon of the Ancient Ones spoke for the first time. His species was so old that their origins were lost to history. They had guided the galaxy through countless crises. The humans have done something remarkable. They detected our communications despite our best efforts to hide them. They created quantum entanglement technology independently. They breached our security with ease. These are not the actions of primitives. These are the actions of a species that has evolved beyond our predictions, which makes them more dangerous, Archon Velis argued. They advance too quickly. They adapt too well. If we do not contain them now, they will spread across the galaxy before we can stop them. Or, Xiphon said quietly, they will become our greatest allies. Fear is not wisdom, Velis. We acted out of caution, but caution has become prejudice. Perhaps it is time to answer them. The vote was called. Should the Assembly respond to humanity's message? The result was divided almost evenly. 22 civilizations voted to respond. 21 voted to maintain silence and strengthen the quarantine protocols. It was the closest vote in Assembly history. With no clear consensus, the decision fell to the Elder Council, a group of 3 beings who served as final arbiters in deadlocked situations. The Elder Council deliberated for 3 days. During that time, something unexpected happened. A small faction of younger species, those who had joined the Assembly within the last century, broke protocol. Led by Captain Thane of the Vixari Republic, they decided to test humanity on their own. If the Assembly cannot decide, Thane told his crew, then we will gather the evidence they need. We will see what humans do when truly threatened. Then the Assembly will have no choice but to act. Thane's ship, along with 2 others, departed for human space. Their target was humanity's furthest colony, a small settlement on a world called New Horizon. It was located 42 light-years from Earth, home to only 4,000 humans. Thane believed that a small military strike would reveal humanity's true nature. If they responded with immediate aggression, it would prove the quarantine was necessary. If they tried to negotiate or surrender, it would show they could be reasoned with. Commander Jack Morrison was checking supply inventories when the alarm sounded. New Horizon was primarily a research colony, studying the native ecosystem of a world that seemed capable of supporting Earth life. They had minimal defenses, just enough to ward off space debris and the occasional pirate. They were not prepared for military action. Commander, 3 ships just dropped out of FTL, Lieutenant Sarah Kim reported from the communication center. Her voice was tight with controlled panic. Unknown configuration. They're not responding to hails. Sir, they're powering weapons. Jack's mind raced. He had been a soldier during the resource wars before the peace. He knew what hostile intent looked like. Sound evacuation. Get everyone to the underground shelters. Raise whatever shields we have. And send a distress signal to Earth immediately. Sir, Earth is 42 light-years away. Even at FTL speeds, help won't arrive for weeks. I know, Jack said grimly. But they need to know what happened here. The alien ships opened fire without warning. Energy weapons carved through New Horizons' shields like they were made of paper. The colony's small defensive satellites were destroyed in seconds. Jack watched from the command center as sections of the habitat domes took direct hits. Atmosphere vented into space. People died before they could reach the shelters. Jack felt rage building inside him. This was first contact, and it was happening with weapons instead of words. But rage wouldn't save his people. He needed to think. The colony had one advantage. It was built on a world rich in heavy metals. The mining operations had excavated enormous underground tunnels, and the mining equipment was designed to move mountains. Kim, can you override the mining systems from here? Sarah looked at him confused. Yes, but why? Then understanding dawned on her face. Sir, that's insane. Insane is better than dead. Do it. The mining facility sat 3 kilometers from the main habitat. It contained massive drilling equipment, ore processors, and transport systems designed to move millions of tons of material. Sarah's fingers flew across the controls, bypassing safety protocols and rerouting power. Jack took manual command of the largest mining hauler, a vehicle the size of a building designed to carry raw ore. The alien ships were moving closer, probably to ensure complete destruction of the colony. They were methodical, professional, thorough. They didn't notice the mining hauler activating until it was already accelerating toward them at maximum speed. Captain Thane saw the primitive vehicle approaching and almost laughed. The humans were trying to ram them with industrial equipment. His shields could stop a nuclear weapon. But then his sensor officer called out a warning. Captain, that vehicle is carrying a full load of unrefined ore. Heavy metals, radioactive materials, volatile compounds. If it impacts our shields at that velocity... The hauler smashed into Thane's ship at 300 kilometers per hour. The shields held for exactly 2 seconds before the sheer mass overwhelmed them. The hauler's cargo bay ruptured on impact, spraying radioactive ore and volatile mining chemicals directly into the ship's hull. Thane's vessel lurched sideways, shields failing, hull breaching in a dozen places. Jack didn't wait to see the result. He was already activating the second part of his plan. New Horizons' main power plant was a fusion reactor, similar to the ones that powered Earth's cities. It was designed with multiple safety systems to prevent meltdown. Jack disabled every single one. He overloaded the reactor core, bypassed the cooling systems, and set it to critical mass. Then he opened a communication channel to the alien ships. His message was simple. You want to know what humans do when attacked? We fight. And we don't lose. The reactor exploded with the force of a small sun. The blast wave caught the second alien ship, which had moved in to assist Thane's damaged vessel. Both ships were thrown across space like toys. One disintegrated entirely. The other tumbled away, barely functional. The third alien ship, witnessing the destruction of its companions, immediately retreated and jumped to FTL. Captain Thane, trapped in the wreckage of his ship, activated his emergency beacon. He and his surviving crew were rescued by human vessels that arrived 3 weeks later, long before any assembly ships could respond. When the assembly heard what happened, the debate ended immediately. Humanity had been attacked without provocation and had defended themselves using nothing but mining equipment and desperate courage. They had destroyed 2 advanced warships and captured the crew of a third. The evidence was undeniable. Humans were dangerous, but only when threatened. They had not pursued the fleeing ship. They had not executed their prisoners. They had simply defended their home. The Elder Council made their final decision. Ambassador Velas was chosen to deliver the message to Earth. His ship arrived at Earth orbit 3 months after humanity's original transmission. This time there was no hiding. The Corthan vessel appeared in full view of Earth's defense systems and broadcast on all frequencies. Humanity, this is Archon Velas of the Galactic Coordination Assembly. We have received your message. We acknowledge our failure to contact you despite centuries of observation. We acknowledge that our caution became isolation and our isolation became injustice. We propose formal first contact. We invite you to send representatives to Thessera Prime to begin negotiations for your membership in the galactic community. We offer this not out of fear but out of recognition that we were wrong to judge you without knowing you. On Earth in the United Earth Council chamber, Dr. Amara Okafor smiled. Send our response. Tell them we accept their invitation. Tell them humanity is ready to take its place among the stars, not as children seeking approval, but as equals demanding respect. Marcus Reynolds watched the alien ship from the observatory where this had all begun. Elna stood beside him. We did it, she whispered. We made them listen. No, Marcus replied. We made them recognize what we always were, a species worthy of being heard. The galaxy was silent because they were afraid. But fear is a poor foundation for peace. Now we build something better, together. The age of silence was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun.